All right. So my name is Alex Tanchoco. I work at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. I've been working there for 35 years now. My first EMW conference was in 2017 at the MITRE conference. So it was great to see all the presentations the last 2 days. It's great to be around people who understand the world of Wiki and what it's all about. So thank you for this opportunity. I'll talk very briefly about what MSK is about. I'll just really flip through the slides, something that when I share the slides, you could take a look at the details. Why are we doing the enterprise data map? What the solution is for? We'll talk a little bit more the fun stuff, the technology proof of concept using the Semantic MediaWiki and GraphViz, and what the next steps are, and then hopefully we'll have a couple of minutes for a Q&A. So Memorial Sloan Kettering in 1884 is dedicated to really cancer research. It's been around for 135 years. We do treatment, research, and education for oncologists. We're one of the 51 National Cancer Institute designated comprehensive cancer center. And these are some of the stats of the patient care. This is up to 2019, which was the latest in our public website. So it's mskcc.org/about. Anyway, these are the numbers. So what are the challenges regarding data in the enterprise, especially when like many organizations, MSK is highly data-driven. Everything that we do is based on data, based on evidence, and it's very complex. We have a vast amount of data that's constantly being produced, collected, and transformed. The number of dimensions, where they're coming from, structured and unstructured data. Systems are very well defined. You know, they have schemas, relationships. They're well-designed systems, especially for healthcare and business systems. But when data is used from those systems to derive insights, you know, scripts are done, queries are made, and you know, all kind of transformations, pulling data from different systems. They are ad hoc and not very well defined. So the relationship between them becomes really obscure, as you saw in the previous presentation. Calling functions that's, you know, with version numbers and things like that becomes like really complicated. And the same thing with data. Some systems get sunsetted. There are a new system that comes in. There might be duplicate, you know, subject areas or data elements that's coming from different places. People are using spreadsheets and so on. So I'm sure a lot of people in the enterprise here could identify with that. And if you couple that with the challenges in healthcare and research, HIPAA privacy and confidentiality, ensuring that the data is de-identified, if you're doing research and sharing that data for analytics, and research itself, clinical research anyway, you know, requires a lot of unique processes because you're innovating, you're researching, you're finding what's not known. There's a lot of new data, new type of data gets collected. And, you know, formal clinical trials, once those research turns into drugs, medication or procedures, you have to go through clinical trials, and that's a very rigid process as well. But there's data that needs to be collected with that and shared and analyzed. Genetic information, collection of that and codifying that and so on, taking value out of that is another complex process, and just a vast amount of data. So all these challenges, of course, provide new opportunities. And so our thought was that we need an enterprise data map to to let us look at this complex relationship between data, as you saw in the prior presentation from Danielle. And similar to that, you know, we do have a map, kind of like an exploration. If you're doing an exploration without a map, you'd just be wandering around. So we need a tool to help us navigate the landscape. And a data map really would show us how to navigate that. Data flows from creation to transformation, and hopefully to the insights they provide. And again, a good analogy is a navigation map, right? Again, similar to the previous talk, you start from where you're coming from, and where do you want to go, and how do you get there? And sometimes there are obstacles along the way, and you know, there's traffic accidents or whatever. You can choose a different path, you know, to get you where do you want to go, and hopefully the most efficient way, given the circumstances. So up next, we'll talk about why we chose Semantic MediaWiki and GraphViz. Well, the easy answer is we already have, you know, a Wikipedia site, MediaWiki site. We call it Datapedia. This started back in the end of 2011. It went live in 2012, about the same time that Wikidata was announced. And this is where we store our metadata about the data. So what a better place to put it in. We don't have to spin up a new system, buy a new piece of software. And it's really just a matter of using the data that's already there and possibly extending it. Currently, these are the stats that I took, I think yesterday from a wiki. So we have 171 pages, 1,000 pages, property values 2 million, and so on. Because basically, we're using our wiki as a database. If you think about it, really, you know, the templates, a lot of the pages are templated. So the reason for this value, the number of size, is really I have the ICD-9, ICD-10 codes in there that makes up most of the pages. But a lot of the contents that are produced by humans are very small. We only have, I think, about 20 or so people contributing content. Other people are mostly consuming it. So this is, you know, the proof of concept landing page, and it's essentially a menu and an explanation of what this is about. So I have a proof of concept links that shows up reports and dashboards. The other one as a search map. So I'll give you a quick view of that. So there's already a graphing extension out there. There's a Wiki extension. I just checked it recently, and I think it's apparently not supported. But anyway, this allows you to get relationship of the different pages. It's automatically done. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is have the extension out there, and it displays the relationship between pages essentially in a graphical form. And if you haven't seen this, you can hover over your mouse on any of the nodes, you right click on it, and you can expand any of those nodes, and the relationship would show up. And it's very dynamic. You could scale it up and down and so on. So it's a good tool for, I don't know if it's working with the latest versions of MediaWiki, but we're on the older version, so it's working on our site. So this is an example of the relationship between an appointment page and all the different systems that has relationship to that data concept of appointments. So what's the data map? So again, it's a proof of concept. I wanted to have like a framework to how to talk to people about this so they can visualize it. We're not sure if this is going to be the tool that we're going to end up with, but again, it's for demonstration purposes of what the final tool might look like. So in this example, think of everything. I see that everything is a function. I did a lightning talk about this, about functions and having transparency on functions in one of the EMWCon. So anyway, you have a notion of, so here we have a couple of functions actually in our wiki, and so I just modified the template to add new properties there, so I can graph them. In this case, it shows me the different input and goes into, I guess, the function name. So this is the list of the functions over here on the right side. This is not the actual screen. Once the screen is just this one page here on the right, this is just the left because it's too small. I basically just expanded that here on the left side. But this is the main interface on the right side here. So now if I couple it, I just select the output types, right? So it then expands it to another layer, as you can see on the right side here. The output of this is essentially displayed right on the wiki. If you right-click on this chart right here on the right, you could then save that as a file. It's basically an SVG file that you can export. And again, I added the information about the function, and it completes a little bit of the stuff that's missing, such as the system information of where these functions are being are part of. So on the back end of this stuff is basically a MediaWiki ask statement. I have and highlighted in yellow, it's a Lua. I'll show that later on. There's a Lua function that gets called. It's basically graph to SVG, which basically wraps the SVG, the GraphViz syntax on top of that. So the rest is really a template. So it calls this template called the data map POC graph, and I will show that in the next slide. So it's basically a recursive call. So this is the Lua function. It's just graph to SVG. All it does is really, I need a way to pre-process the template that's going to have the relationship between the nodes. And then this is kind of like the wrapper, right, for the graph to SVG extension. And this is the template. It's a single template. It's basically, it's gonna take care of the nesting between the different nodes. So it's a recursive call. So you can see here, this is the template that's used by the other ask function. So it's really, very few components for this proof of concept, and it's already a working model. So what our opportunities for us is really to expand on this tool to more of the content that's out there, basically extending some of the templates to include property values that would allow it to be graphed. And hopefully it could help us towards our mission of prevention, treatment, education, and research, and hopefully finding a cure for cancer. And that's how we hope to turn that vision into action. And thank you for your time. I'm not sure I have any time for any questions.
Yeah,
that's all I have.
For questions, I'm typing them out in the backstage chat. If you can see that, if not, I can read them to you.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, there's some questions for you that I'm putting in the backstage chat. If you could, if you want to read that and see which one you want to answer. Otherwise, I can read them to you if you prefer.
I'm not seeing it on my screen. I don't know if there's a delay.
Okay. So one of the questions is, what is the breakdown of editors versus consumers? You mentioned there's 20 editors. How many content consumers are they serving? Is there a goal to increase this?
Well, I think like There's several groups that uses this. People that are exploring data, basically are data analysts, because like a lot of content are metadata. We also have embedded like Tableau, some of the Tableau workbooks, like COVID-19 workbook. So instead of people signing in into our Tableau system, we have limited licenses. Any of the 20,000 employees can get a snapshot of some of the COVID-19 stats related to the hospital, to the state, and so on. The actual wiki content users, on average, I have stats. I should have printed out those numbers. It's kind of dwindled down, when during the COVID-19. So yeah, I don't have a specific number, but I believe it's in the low hundreds.
Okay. There's another question. I'm wondering how you're applying the data map. Is there a relationship taxonomy structure? Do you have fixed and templates? Do you use the map as feedback to clean up the relationships?
No, the relationships are dynamic. So they're going to be. I mean, the thought is really a property, right? I'm going to have a template that essentially you would put in there, and you just define what the parent is and what the parent relationship is. And that could be embedded in an existing template or just plop in a new template right on the page. So the only thing you need is really the relationship between the child node and the parent node and what that relationship is. And that's all you really need. So you can connect any concept to any other concept.
Okay. There's some comments, just you might want to look at it in the stage comments later, but revolving around some people pointing out the network extension, which I believe maybe Jeroen Dedau created, but
okay.
that had some similar features to the graphing that you're getting out here.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, really, the purpose of me sharing this is to try to network and find out, a better approach. We're not married to this one. It's a proof of concept. So yeah.
And then there's another question. Where does the support come for the wiki? Does it come from the executive level at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center?
It really started, really from my boss. He's the champion of this. Actually, this whole data map is his idea. We deal with data of all kinds in our day-to-day. We have staff analysts, and we provide service to the whole institution on the data needs. So anybody that works with data relies on Datapedia, which runs on our wiki, and really just trying to extend the value of that by providing this functionality.
Maybe I was wrong about the network. I think maybe Bernhard was involved, but now it's going up. But that looks like it's it for the questions. Thanks for the talk, Alexander. There's one quick note. There was a request for a Create Camp about creating visualizations with, I think, Mermaid and
yeah.
But
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was talking to Lex about that a little bit in the coffee shop. And I look at Mermaid. All I need to do is, convert that call so I can have another Lua function. Instead of calling the GraphViz, it would just basically call Mermaid. And it's really the same thing. The syntax is almost identical.
Right. So that Create Camp, there was a request for it, but not really a moderator or leader for it. So there might be a reason where a couple of the attendees can form up their own Create Camp and tinker or show everybody what they've been working on and discuss needs and show examples.
Okay.
So yep, that's an option. But Alexander, thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you, everyone. Bye.